A modern Airbus A350 from Spanish airline Iberia is preparing for takeoff in Mexico. It seems routine, but something notable just happened. During refueling, a small amount of SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, also called sustainable kerosene, was added. Although it's optional now, starting January 1st, it will be mandatory.
It starts with a 2% blend and will reach 70% by 2050. That means that starting next year, we'll be required to use SAF.
But how is SAF made? We start our journey in Cartagena on the Mediterranean coast, where energy company Repsol has a large refinery, and recently at its center, an SAF production plant. This plant enables us to provide our gas stations with 100% renewable fuels for cars and to produce biokerosene and SAF for the Spanish aviation market. Repsol has invested €250 million to transform this brown liquid into fuel for both cars and planes. But what exactly goes into it? We continue inland to food producer Orzante in Navarra. Viviana Hinojosa, overseeing the refinery, is producing sunflower oil. Its byproduct, a thick green paste, is produced in such quantities that tankers are needed to haul it away regularly.
This isn't waste, because what we produce will always be of interest to other companies as material for their products.
This green paste and similar waste from across Spain is processed at a nearby refinery. Chemist Maria Garcia explains the steps involved in her lab and what makes this process so intriguing.
We treat it with heat and acid to separate the oily phase, the part we want to extract, from the aqueous phase.
They're using fats from waste, which is different than earlier biofuels. What's processed here comes from byproducts from cooking oil production and deep fryers in restaurants, not oils cultivated specifically for fuel. This liquid becomes biodiesel and biokerosene. Though Spain is the world's largest olive oil producer, generating plenty of waste, the supply is limited. The competition for these resources is fierce.
There's competition, but we've prepared for it by securing access to these materials for years.
Oleofat is also exploring fat extraction from sewage sludge. Diversifying sources is key, but Repsol knows these sources won't be sufficient in the medium term. As for their next step, we're testing animal fats and other new raw materials in the pipeline, which we're trialing in pilot plants, which will gradually integrate into our operations. South of Madrid, 250 scientists at Repsol's research center are racing to find additional sources. Robots analyze various samples and formulations around the clock, including green waste. The benefit of this kind of raw material is that it's far more abundant than cooking oils or other oily waste. If we can use this solid feedstock, it allows for much higher biofuel production. Repsol currently produces enough SAF to meet Spain's demand for 100% biodiesel and 2% biokerosene. But Europe faces a bottleneck, especially with the goal of using 6% biofuel in aviation by 2030. We need to start now. Plants are either operational or in the planning stages, but without significant investment in SAF projects now, we won't hit our 2030 targets. Currently, the lack of production capacity in Europe is one issue. For Spain's air traffic, however, the outlook could be better in the medium term as well. Spain is in a privileged position compared to other EU countries. We have lower renewable electricity production costs, giving us the potential to lead in renewable energy development within the EU. Iberia sees SAF as an opportunity for rural development as well.
This could bring prosperity and improve regional coexistence by establishing industries in areas currently lacking wealth, such as Spain's depopulated regions. Those are precisely where raw materials and renewable energy are available.
But what does this mean for air travel? SAF costs more than fossil-based kerosene.
Flying will become more expensive, unfortunately, at least at first. But we're working to lower SAF prices quickly by ramping up production.
SAF generates significantly fewer CO2 emissions than conventional kerosene, yet it still burns in internal combustion engines, emitting other pollutants. Flying with SAF is therefore only less dirty, not truly clean.